Welcome to the COVID Chronicles YYC. I'm Denise Summers of M4 Communications. I'm a business storyteller and communications consultant here in Calgary. And today we're joined by Wendy Giuffre of Wendy Ellen Inc., a local HR consultancy. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about you and about Wendy Ellen Inc. and what you do and who you do it with.
Sure. So we are what you would consider a generalist HR consulting firm, and we work predominantly with small to mid-sized business. So that's our niche market. We don't have a specific industry that we focus on. It's more the size of a company. And it's really, we're that resource for companies that don't have a need for a full-time HR complement, or perhaps they have more of an HR office administrative role, but need some more senior HR expertise. So that's really our focus from a business perspective. We have, including myself, 12 consultants that work with the firm on a regular basis, and we pull in experts on certain things where we feel that we don't quite have the expertise needed. So the odd time we'll pull an expert in some other capacity to help out with clients too. But we're an extremely collaborative team in the background. We've worked with about 170 plus Alberta-based businesses, with maybe they have offices internationally or in the US. And I would say amongst our team, probably about 170 years of HR experience, all of us. So we have a lot to draw on, and that's really how we operate. So we don't usually sit on site full time. We do a difference between some on site, project work, remote work. So it really try and fit with whatever the client needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're also called on often by the media here in Calgary.
Yeah, I am. I used to do a regular show with CTV Primetime Live, a regular panelist on their show that dealt with basically HR type issues of the day, that sort of thing. I just recently, my most recent one, there was a Financial Post article posted yesterday where I commented on, and that was all around what the challenges are going to be to employers with employees that are working from home. So yeah, I would say fortunate that I get those opportunities to speak, because it definitely gets my company name out there, and I also quite enjoy those engagements.
Right. And so tell me, this is the big question. What's your differentiator? Why would I hire you?
Well, I think there's a couple things, other than the fact that we do have a lot of experience amongst our team, and we are very collaborative in the background. The client doesn't always see that because they deal with one specific consultant typically, but in the background, we're a super collaborative group. But I think our responsiveness, there's not an hour that goes by if a client calls that we don't at least get back to them and say, we can't address your issue right now, but we'll be back to you in 2 hours, or if we can, we pick the phone up. We are an extremely responsive group. We understand HR doesn't always happen from 8 till 5 on a weekday. So all of my consultants work off their cell phones, and really if they can get their phone, they will get their phone. So extremely responsive. And secondly, we're very versatile. We've worked with, downtown office working environments to in the field, at the plants, putting on a pair of coveralls, and everything in between. So we're really a versatile team, and I specifically look for consultants with that ability, because small to mid-sized business is all over the place. Family business is a big part too. So, we understand that business very well. So I think, yeah, our responsiveness and also our versatility are probably our two key differentiators.
Right. And you wrote a book last year, The Only HR Best Practice You'll Ever Need. Can you tell me what the book's about?
Yeah, I'm really quite proud of this book. And Denise, book probably wouldn't be ready and up and running and successful as it is without your help, because you were integral in the writing, editing, and also the publicity around it. But it's been really well received from anybody that's read it. And book is geared towards leaders of whatever type, And it's really a guide to taking away all the formalities and it's just demystifying basically the HR concepts and really making sure that you think of your people in your organization as individuals and not as a job or not as, you know, a team member. Like, you have to realize that everybody comes to work with their own individual life circumstances, history, baggage, for lack of a better word, and you have to understand that. So, and I've also been told by people that have read it that it's not even just for leaders. There's some really good lessons in that book, and there are some funny stories. So people have commented that it's a really good, interesting, and funny read, because you can't, you know, 15 years doing this kind of work with all sorts of businesses, we have a lot of funny stories and we've had a lot of fun experiences. So we tried to put some of those in the book as well. So yeah, really proud of it, and it's been well received.
Yeah, great. And so we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and how's that impacted your business?
Well, it has impacted our business, that's for sure. And the way it's impacted our business is some of our clients who, let's say, we were on site with or had fairly substantial contracts with, some of them had to close their doors for 3 months. So when you close your doors, you don't need an HR person hanging about ready to assist. So our contracts, some of them were basically put on hold, drastically reduced, that sort of thing, and are now starting to come back. So as they're opening their offices, we're coming back in, helping them do that and deal with people and deal with some of the people that don't want to come back to work. So there's definitely an impact. And on the flip side too, we were, especially at the beginning of this, extremely busy with helping people figure out what to do, whether it's, you know, permanent layoff versus temporary layoff versus work share. What do they do? Wage subsidy programs. So especially me, because typically that's who they call when they go on our website. I was answering questions and helping people that weren't clients, but just people didn't know where to turn. So the phone was literally ringing off the hook. We've picked up a couple clients through that, because these kinds of times are when companies realize how vulnerable they are if they don't have proper HR expertise or advice. Same with our payroll business. We run payrolls for companies, and I think that's when people realize that that's a vulnerable piece of business that you need to make sure you have backup, and what happens if someone gets ill, those kinds of things. So that side of the business has picked up as well due to this situation.
Right. And so now we're moving into the reopening, and what does that look like for you and for your clients from an HR perspective?
Well, it's interesting. I think most of our clients in their own business sector have some really good guidelines out there. There's a lot of guidelines out there, of course, from the Alberta government, but you go on, all you have to do is Google it, and there's so many really good pieces of information about there on how to reopen and what the protocols are around social distancing, sanitizing, how many people in an elevator, what to do in your kitchen, those kinds of things. So there's a lot of guidelines out there. So we have our own prepared info sheet for clients if they're looking for that. But in most cases, that information is out there. And some very specific industries, of course, they have very strict protocols they have to follow that has been directed by the government. But where our need is really apparent right now is, what do you do with people that maybe don't want to come back to work, can't come back to work because they have childcare responsibilities and there's nowhere for their children to go? So it's really figuring out, how do you either integrate part-time telecommuting? How do you integrate full-time? How do you keep your teams engaged? Can you ask people to come back to work? So it's all those questions around the people side. And, further to what we talk about in our book, there really isn't a black and white answer. You have to look at the circumstances, people that are immune compromised, those kinds of things. I mean, bottom line is, if you have a safe workplace and you followed all those protocols, you do have every right to call your workers back to work. However, if if they are ill or they've traveled or they're caring for someone that's ill, or if they do have bona fide childcare issues, then we have to make exceptions to that. So there's a lot of gray area right now, and I don't know who has all the answers, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody does right now.
I know. I think what's going to be interesting is 2 years down the road when you see some of the case law coming to print, and what's happened in some of those situations. But
right, and your book really addresses that, is looking at each individual situation in just general HR, and yeah, not taking a blanket approach to the way that you deal with employees.
Yeah, and I think that's key, like you said, in any time, but this, in a situation like this, it's even more crucial.
Right.
And also, I think going forward with what everybody has experienced during this time, there's going to be a lot more requests for alternative work arrangements. That younger generation that's very tech savvy and enjoys the fact that they don't have to commute. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to relook at how you configure your teams and how they work together. And so I think it's really going to be interesting times over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what opportunities do you see for your business arising out of this? Do you see some new ways of doing things, or ways of working with clients?
Yes and no, really. I mean, we've always worked in a lot of different ways. So we have an office in the Beltline, but we have a lot of my consultants that also utilize their home office, are at client sites, those kinds of things. So for our firm, the way we do business hasn't necessarily changed, but I think opportunities for us is we have to be progressive and upfront and out there with clients on giving some really good advice on how to make some of these alternative arrangements work.
Right.
And working with the employee, the managers, whatever, because I know already I'm starting to work with some managers who just don't quite get how to manage this workforce, and it's not going to be easy. And you have to really, this is where you have to really examine your corporate culture and how do you keep that intact, or do you is it going to, well, I shouldn't even say is it going to evolve, it is going to evolve. So how do you manage that?
Right, right. And so you've been in business for a long time, and do you have any words of advice for small business owners right now in this unusual and unprecedented time that we're in?
Wow. I'll tell it to myself if I do.
Yeah.
I think really it's right now you got to watch your costs. And I think everybody's watching their costs. And I think the other thing too is you got to keep on top of your receivables. Don't let your receivables get out of hand, because you don't know what's going on in the world. And, I think the other thing is to really look at where you can make a mark in coming out of this pandemic, and how you can adapt your business to maybe stand a little bit ahead of your competitor, like showcase what your knowledge and your experience and how you can help. I think for companies like ours, I mean, I hate to say the reasoning, but I think a lot of companies downsized, and from what I see out there, they're rethinking how many full-time people do they need. So looking at how you can service clients and customers in a bit of a different way. I think innovation, you got to think out of the box, and you got to be really flexible and willing to work with your clients, right. Not only on price, on everything, I think right now.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to see as well is a very different downtown we've experienced in the past. And
well, right now it's a ghost town. I mean,
yeah.
The outskirts are busier than downtown. So yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of brings us to the end here, Wendy. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I hope we do get back to what we see as a normal world again. And right now, sometimes when I look at what's going on, I don't even know what that is, but I'm looking forward to when people can give hugs and people can, stand close and be there not only to support each other verbally, but emotionally. And you don't get that on Zoom calls. It's that touch and that aura and all that is really felt when you're person to person. So all I can say is I'm looking forward to that day for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's it's like something's missing from the world, and it's that human contact and the ability to just hug somebody. And so I predict an epidemic of hugging in the next house. So that brings us to the end of our episode today. And so thank you for joining us, Wendy. And stay tuned for to see the episode with Wendy and Calgary Strong. And let's support each other and get back to work.
Good.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.